Okay, so I'm assuming what you're confused about is like how to memorize it, or like how it works to like, you know, use it in a test. So like don't worry about memorizing 180 or like 360, because it'd be a lot of work and it'd be really easy to make mistakes. So for the radian, like for these guys, just memorize the 90 degree. Not even the 90 degree though, just remember that the first one, it's hard to videotape and like keep accuracy. The first one is pi over 6 and the second one is pi over 4. So that you know that like every 30 degrees you're gonna add a pi over 6. So this is 2 pi over 6, which simplifies to pi over 3. This is 3 pi over 6, which simplifies to pi over 2. This is, I already lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4 pi over 6, which simplifies to 2 over 3, and so on and so forth. So that's how you do the 30 degrees. And then the 45 degrees is the same thing. You just add pi over 4. So this is 2 pi over 4, which simplifies to pi over 2. This is 3 pi over 4, which doesn't simplify. And this is 4 pi over 4, which is just pi. So that's how you memorize the radians. You just remember that these two are pi over 6, and pi over 4. And then you just add that every increasing interval of 30 or 45. And then for these guys, you just want to memorize 180. And you just got to memorize it. So you just got to memorize that this is and it's actually kind of easy because you only have the square root of 3 over 2, 1/2, and 1 over the square root of 2. And you just know that it's 1 over the square root of 3 over 2, 1/2, and then the next 30 is the flip of that. And then the 45 is 1 over the square root of 2, 1 over the square root of 2. So you just got to have that memorized. And then it's the same for all of them. Oh god, I was just showing radians. It's the same for all of them, but just with the correct negatives. So you're going to keep this pattern with the right negatives for the quadrant you're in. So you got to remember the cosine sign, should it be positive or negative in the quadrants. So you know, like, and you remember the way to know that is if the opposite leg is positive, then the sign is going to be positive. So then these should all be positive in this quadrant because the opposite leg is positive. Okay, and if the adjacent leg is positive, then the cosine will be positive. So these should all be positive. Okay, so then you go over here, and if you make a little triangle boy, yeet, and if the opposite leg is positive, which it is, the signs should all be positive, which they are, but the adjacent, oh god, the shadow, the adjacent is negative, so all of the cosines should be negative, which they are. And that's also a good way to remember which of these is cosine or sine if you're confused. So like if you're like, oh, is it sine cosine or is it cosine sine? Just be like, okay, well I know that the cosine's supposed to be negative here, and I have the negative there, so that's where that's supposed to be. Cool. And then also be careful, god, dumpster pile of my room. Also be careful with transcribing this into the next quadrants. So like say that this pattern, square root of 3 over 2 is the cosine is 1, and then 1 over the square root of 2 is like pattern 2, and this is pattern 3, because it's just a repetition of this pattern, this pattern, this pattern, with the cosine being this, cosine being that, the cosine being that, and then, you know, these are flip-flopped. So it's easy to mix. You're never going to mess up the 45, because the 45 is just that same crap over and over again. But you could easily flip-flop these if you're not careful. So just remember that it's symmetry, not repetition. So like, this is 1, 2, 3 with like 3 over square root of 3 over 2, you know, being 1, and then the 1/2 being 3. So you're not going to go 1, 2, 3 again, because then the 1/2 is going to be over here, and it should be over there. You're gonna reflect it, so the 3 reflects across this axis here, and it's actually going to be here. So if you have the 1/2 here, it's going to reflect and be there. And then the same here. You don't want to repeat and then have the 1/2 be here. That's wrong. You want to reflect over the axis. So if you have the 3 square root of 3 over 2 here, you're going to reflect, so it should be the closest to the axis here too. So that's how you make sure that you're not messing up the pattern. So you don't want to do like 1, 2, God, depth perception is hard. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You want to do 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And then, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1. And that's how you have it memorized. If you're confused about what these numbers mean or how to get them, don't worry about it. Or go watch Weisenbaker. But that's how I memorized it. I just memorized the 90 with these 2 for the radian numbers, and then you just memorize this pattern because it just repeats the whole time. Hope it's help. Hope that helps. If you have more questions, text me.